I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher for the past 8 years, primarily teaching 3rd and 1st grade. But this year I transitioned into a coaching role where I support teachers at my school. And there's this woman at my school that I really struggled to get along with. So this past June, during the rise of racial tension following George Floyd's death, our school was trying to figure out how to talk to our kids about what was going on, all the while navigating distance learning and the fact that COVID was affecting a lot of our families. And so this woman decided to make a post on behalf of our school without consulting anybody, and had asked one of our African American students to stand in between 2 police officers in front of our school to take a picture so she could post it on our social media account with a caption that said that our school was in full support of the police and that we were so proud of what they were doing in our community. Yeah, I think it was hard for me because I saw how this innocent student was being used as a prop for something that he was not being explained to, and he had no idea what was going on, and she just didn't really think about how this might affect him and maybe even his family and even our other students who are seeing this post. Because we're in distance learning, no one really knows how our kids are doing, and it's really hard to connect with them. And so making a public post like that is really dangerous because we're sending out a message that we can't even follow up on. And I think for me, it was also really difficult because I felt like it was hard for me I still was wrestling with, the stance on police and school police in particular, and how our union was going about it and how I was personally feeling about it, because it felt like they're on both sides, people that were hurting, and it was really hard for me to see someone make a statement without really thinking about the other side. And so for me, I really want to pursue unity in that sense, but we can't do that if we're trying to create a really divisive culture and divisive language that prevents that from happening on our school campus. And so if we're really called to unity as a school, as a community, we really have to pursue the other perspective. But we can't do that if we're only sending out one particular message. And so we went up to her and we talked to her and we asked her to either take it down or to change the caption to make it read a little bit less divisive. To which she responded with, no, she didn't really see why it was a big problem, and she was gonna leave it. And so I was livid. I was so upset, it just felt so wrong. And no matter where anyone stands on this issue, the fact is her actions had robbed us of our voice, and the fact that our families were getting a message that we weren't trying to communicate. So I did everything that I could. I prayed in the opposite spirit. I joined a prayer group at our school to contend for our campus, and I tried to sympathize with her and thought, maybe she felt attacked or singled out. And so I had to process what it would look like to really forgive her in my heart, because I couldn't move past these incidents if I didn't do that first. So forgiveness is a daily choice. It's not a you pray once and it's done kind of deal, but a constant choosing. And some days are easier than others. On my good days, I can smile and laugh and make a joke about what's going on and tell myself, Margaret, it's okay. God sees you, God knows you, it's gonna be okay. And then there's other days when I get so mad because it's so ridiculous. And so then I have to choose forgiveness again. And when I do that, I have to remind myself that, forgiveness doesn't always result in reconciliation. Sometimes the person that you've forgiven won't change their behavior or are still hurting you. And we're still called to forgive, but it doesn't mean that we're called to reconcile that relationship. And you see, I've been able to forgive her for how she's hurt me, but it's really hard for me to forgive her for how she's hurting other people and how she's still doing that without proper intervention. And so a question I have to ask myself is, how is forgiveness an act of justice when the person is still inflicting harm? And how do you know when to extend grace or when to hold someone accountable for their actions? And even though I don't have the answers to those questions, I know that how I see forgiveness is really indicative of how I see my God. If I hold out on forgiveness because I expect God to show me his justice first, I don't think I'm operating out of trust, but I'm actually operating out of, distrust. And I have to ask myself another question, do I trust God?